Call to order the Ashland Board of Commissioners meeting for Thursday, April 14th. Start with an invocation by Commissioner Goot and then Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for another day in Ashland, Kentucky, and we ask you once again to give us wisdom and guidance as we strive to make the right decisions for our citizens. We thank you for this Easter season and the upcoming Resurrection Sunday. Bless our faith community as we celebrate this time in our city. Bless our city manager, our staff and employees, and those in attendance today. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Let us stand and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a motion to receive and file the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have a motion to receive and file the minutes for the regular called meeting held on February 24th, 2022, the regular meeting held on March 10th, 2022, and the regular meeting held on March 24th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearings and reports. Commissioners, if you will allow me, I've got a couple proclamations. First off, we'll start with this. Whereas Civil Rights Act of 1968 prohibits discrimination in housing and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits for fair housing in the United States, and whereas the principle of fair housing is not only national law and national policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans. And whereas the National Fair Housing Law during the month of April provides an opportunity for all Americans to recognize the complete success and the goal of equal housing opportunity can only be accomplished with the help and cooperation of all Americans. I declare April as Fair Housing Month in the city of Ashland, and we urge all citizens in this community to become aware and support of the fair housing laws. Secondly, autism is something that we have become very much aware of in our community. So with that, whereas autism is a pervasive developmental disorder affecting the social, communication, and behavioral skills of those touched by it, and whereas more health professionals become proficient in diagnosing autism, more children are being diagnosed on the autism spectrum, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 88 children nationally. And whereas there is no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive treatment early in their lives, it is possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas individuals with autism often require a lifetime of specialized and community support services to ensure their health and safety and to support families' resilience as they manage this psychological and financial burdens autism presents, we now declare National Autism Awareness Month in an effort to educate parents, professionals, and the general public about autism and its effects. I think we as a commission has been acutely attuned to the needs of those folks with autism, and we look forward to seeing our sensory garden completed, hopefully by the end of this month.
Yeah.
Lastly, I do want to do one last proclamation here. And for that, I'm going to ask for Matt Saunders to come up, please. Matt, as always, we thank you and your team for all you do. Yesterday's house fire in our city is an important reminder that you and your team are truly on the front lines, and we are forever grateful for your quick action and professionalism. With that, I think it's appropriate that we also declare this month National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in honor of you all and the great work you're doing in our city. So we thank you so much. Commissioners, do you all mind coming up? We'll take a picture. Greg, do you mind standing up? You mind standing up? Ryan, do you mind standing up? I was on the scene of yesterday's fire, and it's tragic, of course, and our hearts go out to our citizens affected. But I want to make note of how proud I am of our police and fire. Watching you all in action yesterday humbled me, and it reminded me that it's truly important to have professionals like you all doing the work you do. Regular citizens take it for granted. I think I have in the past, but I'm so proud of you all and your team for standing up and heading towards danger to help those in need, and I just want to commend you all. Thank you. Commissioners?
Go ahead.
I'll start.
Okay.
Along some of the same lines, I mentioned last meeting, and I'll mention again this meeting, that the Red Cross will be doing their Sound the Alarm campaign in Ashland this year. So anybody who needs a smoke alarm installed, and we're going to post this, I think, on the city's Facebook page and probably on the website as well, you can call the Red Cross at 304-340-3650 to schedule that. That Sound the Alarm campaign will be on May the 14th here in Ashland, and if anybody would like to join us in being a volunteer to help install those, I'll pass your name along to the Red Cross as well. So that's all I
Thank you.
have. Thank you, Mayor.
Well,
Go ahead.
Commissioner Spriggs?
sure. Hello, everybody. First of all, with the DAR, Hogue chapter of DAR had a Vietnam Veterans Appreciation Luncheon last Saturday in Grayson. We had it in Ashland the last time, and so we moved it to Grayson. The mayor came and made a nice, very nice, touching speech about our veterans and how much we appreciate the things and the freedoms we have because of them. So it was really nice, and next year we'll be moving it back to Ashland. So if you know a Vietnam veteran, watch for that. So it'll be probably in March again. I'll tell you, Ashland's really popping. There's so many ribbon cuttings that I can't get to them all. The last one I was able to attend was Float 606, and they have been jammed to the rafters ever since they opened their doors. And I know I missed one on the Saturday. So we're really happy what's going on in Ashland. It's fun to watch, and it's great to see all this great stuff. I know we've got a full agenda, so I hope you all take a look at, all the citizens in Ashland, take a look at the popular annual financial report. Great information in here, and as always, the finance department did a great job with this. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate seeing everything in one place. It's really impressive that way. This morning, the mayor and I went to a little workshop on tax fraud put on by the Regional Council of Carpenters. Look at my neato lunchbox I got there, and it has popcorn in it. So I was really happy about that, but I was also happy to find out that Ashland does a pretty good job with what we're with our contractors, subcontractors, and things like that. So I was happy about that. And probably Marty's going to talk about the park playground. So before I become an unwitting participant in Jingo Lingo, I'll turn it over to Marty.
Kudos, 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 kudos. Kudos, kudos, kudos.
Who's counting that?
Kudos. But all of us attended the ribbon cutting over there at the Inclusive Playground. I think we haven't met since then, and it was so great to see people of all abilities be able to get on that equipment, and it's money well spent. And since then, I was going to mention this first. I was in a capital projects meeting this morning, and all of us have participated in this with the staff. And I don't mention the things that aren't glamorous, but I mean, we have things in water distribution and sewer department, sewer collection, and all these projects going on all over our city. We talk about the parks, and people can see them visibly, but there's a lot going on in our city right now. And one of the big ones is Belmont Street right now. It's not, like I said, it's not glamorous, but it's well needed. But since then, we went on ribbon cuttings. We've been to Sal's. We've been to Float 606, local mercantile out there in South Ashland had a ribbon cutting. And then I passed there and took a picture. The butcher block is going to open soon. That's the meat market out there. So that's really popping out there in South Ashland. I go down to Oliverio Park probably daily because that's where I played ball. That's where my kids played ball. I coached ball there. And John Oliverio was a great city commissioner here in days gone by. He ran a shoe store in downtown Ashland in the arcade for many years and was a successful, also a Pittsburgh Pirate scout. People don't know that. But and he took me to ball games several times. But all the transformation of Oliverio Park is just phenomenal. We've replaced dirt. We're voting on the fence today, and we'll have a second reading tomorrow. And all the fencing and all the netting will be replaced. They're replacing the roofs on all the dugouts and all the shelter houses up there right now. And then we're going to put playground equipment similar to ones the kind that we put in Central Park with the flooring that's all inclusive down there. And so a great, that's happening in Oliverio Park. Friday will be opening ceremonies. Saturday they'll play their first game at 10 o'clock, I think. I think that's the schedule, unless something's changed. We're going to have an Easter egg hunt. We were out there at the inclusive playground, said, well, there's no Easter egg hunt. So we got together and said, we're going to have an Easter egg hunt. Well, Amber got busy, and now there's 20,000 Easter eggs in her office. The UPS man got tired of going up and down the stairs with the boxes. And so there's 20,000 Easter eggs. And I have 50 football players that promised me that they would be there tomorrow morning at 9:30, or the Saturday morning at 9:30, to hide 20,000 Easter eggs. If you don't hide them and you guard them, the squirrels take them. You ever seen a purple egg go up the side of a tree? So that's part of the plan, is to hide those Easter eggs at 9:30, and the Easter egg hunt will be at 11 o'clock. We're also going to have a sensory garden cleanup about 10 o'clock, I think. Is that the plan? And the same players will be over there, digging holes and rake and so forth like that. So if you want to volunteer, it's a good volunteer project. On Saturday, meet me at the bandstand at 9:30, and then we'll go on to sensory garden and work on that. That's all I had, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say thank you. My wife asked me to mention on behalf of those who work with children with autism and those challenges. Those people appreciate when their local governments recognize what they see on a daily basis. It is popping in Ashland. We've got, I was trying to write down, and I was forgetting some of them, but yeah, we had Sal Speakeasy. That's just something that we've not had in this area, I don't think. Definitely encourage people to go check them out. Jay's Threads was another one that we went to. JD and Chantel opened their business. Float 606, as Commissioner Spriggs mentioned, and local mercantile. So, yeah, it's a weekly chore to keep up with our ribbon cuttings, but that's a good problem to have, right? So, very important for us. But we always ask as well, not just obviously the ribbon cutting is good to go to for everyone, but we want to know how was your process to open this business? Did the city make it a process that was easy and understandable? And then it's on the citizen to make their business successful, of course. But we can do everything that we need to do to get them to the point of making themselves successful, and I think that's important. Commissioner Goot mentioned our Capital Projects Committee meeting before this meeting, and we were talking about if you've driven up Belmont, you've seen those water lines that are staged right now to be replaced, and the road's rough and things like that. I think citizens definitely recognize that, but I stopped and thought about it. That represents an investment that started before this commission, when we first started budgeting $1 million towards replacing, not repairing, not Band-Aiding, replacing water lines according to a priority list. So hopefully people are starting to, we're still working on this project and we're still, early on in getting to where we need to be. But that's your money that's sitting there that's proactively going to take care of a lot of citizens would say our biggest problem. So when you see that, and it is a little bit rough to drive through there, but realize that's a big deal. So I was also able to attend a meeting that we had with some city staff at Dixon Street, about the Dixon Street project. And I just want to say how proud I am of our staff and the project management that our staff is capable of, that they do on a weekly basis. I've worked with a lot of teams over my career in project management, and I would take them against anyone. They're excellent, but not just their preparedness, but their care for the citizens that were there, genuine. So just wanted to recognize them for that, and I was truly impressed to see that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Lorraine, if you could please come up. As I mentioned to you all during our last meeting, we're going to have a presentation today on the Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, the CAPER, for Plan Year 2020. Lorraine Woolery has been our Assistant Housing and Grants Administrator for, I think has been over 5 years, and she's moved on to another position in the city, and she's going to give that report today. I'd also like to recognize two other city employees who are in the crowd. And actually, before I go on, Lorraine, you've done a magnificent job. To the mayor's, or excuse me, to the commissioner's point about caring, you see it in every step of every job that you do, the care that you have for the citizens and the potential services we can offer, and that can't be taught. And so thank you very much for your care and consideration for our citizens. It's made a magnificent difference in what we can offer to people that have challenges. So thank you. But I'd like to introduce Jacob Reisner. He's not, if you could stand up, Jacob, he's not a new face to the city. He's been with the city for about 11 and a half years, graduated from Shawnee University, numerous awards. He was an accountant with the city of Ashland, as I said, for 11 and a half years, and an auditor for 9 months in the private sector before joining the Ashland team. And also new to the city staff is Tracy Wilkes. Tracy, if you could stand up. Hired as an administrator for the City of Ashland Assisted Housing in late November of 21. She has spent 15 years as a Section 8 housing manager for Housing Authority of Lawrence County in Kentucky, and was responsible for the full life cycle of Housing Choice Voucher Program there. So welcome to the team, Tracy, and Jacob, welcome to a new position, and as they take over many of the responsibilities that Lorraine had. So with that, Lorraine, if you could please provide the CAPER presentation.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Okay, my name is Lorraine Woolery, and I'm here on behalf of the Department of Community and Economic Development. Each year, our department applies for federal funds through the Community Development Block Grant, which is offered through the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Sorry, a little nervous, not used to this. I like being behind the scenes. These funds are for three main functions: to benefit low and moderate income families, prevent slum and blight, or meet urgent needs within our community. Due to multiple challenges, COVID, we were not able to provide this report until now. The information I'm giving you is really from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, but upon your approval, we will be submitting this report to HUD. Over that 1 year period, we spent over $1 million within the city limits providing services and projects. And I don't want to read off everything, but I can give rough examples of things that we've done. We've spent $42,465 on 8 service projects. These are the dollar amounts that went directly into the service agencies and nonprofits within the city. All of these agencies, and there's one more slide, receive funding for utilities, liability insurance, operating expenses. Every agency was offered the ability to give food to their patrons, just because during COVID we knew there were a lot of people that couldn't get to grocery stores, had accessibility issues. CARES was also given the ability for a case manager for resource and referral, which has been a priority of the city of Ashland since the inception. Hillcrest Bruce Mission during this year actually expanded their services to Glalo Apartments, which then tied into our Housing Choice Voucher Program. So there's many good partnerships that come out of these funds. Okay. For the total for the 8 service organizations, we spent $216,793.85, which I think is a great amount going directly to the people. On top of those nonprofits, the city of Ashland themselves did 5 individual projects. There were food, clean start kits, PPE, the learning lab that we started at the Unity Center, and utility assistance program. And the city's projects expended over $111,000. The food programs that we ran, there were 2 specific. There was one that we ran as a mobile unit out of the Unity Center, where people would drive through contactless, that they would pick up their food. It was a great experience because not only were you helping people, but when people couldn't have contact because of COVID, we were their contact. We were there to smile. There were some that they just stopped and wanted to pray with us. So, and it was nice to get to know the people as they came through. Many came through every month and were very appreciative of the food that we gave them. Let's see here. The other program was spread throughout the city of Ashland, and that's where nonprofits gave us referrals, and we would actually go out and deliver the food to them. And this, I'm very proud of those programs because we have a staff of 9 employees, and we had students from the elementary, middle school, and high school who also went out, and we could not have done it without their support. Oops. And that's just a picture of us at the food program. We also did utility assistance payments that went out to 131 people. I want to brag on the middle school. This is the CMPS program. They partnered with us, and it shows the importance of us working with youth in our future. We couldn't get out the boxes that we did in a minute. We took out over 1,000 boxes of food to people, and we made those boxes each box ourselves before we actually delivered it. The information and the projects they did with us that were PPE, cleaning supplies, food, they took their experience with us, they took it to the state level. They won at the state level, and they took the information and went to the international competition. And they presented to a panel in Kenya, and the people in Kenya actually know where Ashland, Kentucky is now. So I think it's pretty monumental that we were able to make an impact on them.
Lorraine, could we get them in here sometime to?
Yeah, they'd love to show you
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Okay.
Along with the service projects, we provide funds for code enforcement, and CDBG has to cover target areas. So we cover East Central, City Central, and Pollard Mills. We provided money for infrastructure, which some was spent in the Pollard Mills area and some was spent at DeBoard, where we reconstructed sidewalks and stairs and put the handrails for safety. We had started the Shelter of Hope flooring project, but we were not able to complete it during this year. That's why there's only $581. That was a public notice, but we did complete that this year. And we spent $74,000 on administration. That's for salaries, publishing reports, and we're also in charge of doing Fair House training and advertisement. And these are some of the advertisements that we have placed in the Daily Independent that people often see, just so we can educate people on their rights and non-discriminatory practices. And that's all. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question, just a comment. Well done, well done, well done to everybody involved.
Very impressive.
The work
Very
that,
impressive.
Very impressive.
that this group of people does for our citizens is amazing to me. And the value's not the right word, but the money that we put into places that can help the most people, it just, I don't have a lot of words, I'm sorry.
I
It's
wish
just
I had
fabulous.
a copy of the voicemail. We were working with the middle schoolers, and DJ and Tina and Debbie went out with a truck full of boxes and dropped them off at Glalo. And the next day, we got a phone call from a lady who was so appreciative of what she received because she was having a hard time. And everybody during COVID was struggling. And people really did appreciate what we could provide.
Well done.
So, thank you.
Lorraine, thank you very much, and I was going to make a comment to what I had said earlier on the human touch, but I think Lorraine's briefing and then also the pictures also kind of showed that. So again, Lorraine, I know a lot of this is some of the names that you've mentioned, a lot of the names that haven't been mentioned that are volunteering their time. It's not on the city clock that they're attending and participating in these events, and again, it just has made a huge difference in our community. One other thing Mr. Pullum pointed out to me, I also want to mention Tracy is also on the Kentucky Housing Authority Board of Directors, so that's another nice kudo, and it's great to have as part of our team. Last thing I had, Mayor and Commissioners, is just we will put up a post today on the Sensory Garden. Commissioner Good has already mentioned that. Just some specifics. You don't have to sign in to volunteer. You don't have to let us know in advance. If you just show up, that's great. But the landscape architect has asked that people, if you have them, bring some specific tools, and Ms. Grubb will put that out today. That's all I had.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to public participation. Excuse me. Anyone with a comment or request may come to the podium and address the commission concerning matters related to city business, services, or personnel. Excuse me again. Comments related to election issues or concerning personal disputes will not be allowed. Personal attacks, obscene or threatening language will not be tolerated. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes. The yellow light indicates 30 seconds remain, and a red light means the time limit has expired. Only one speaker is permitted per subject. No action will be taken at this meeting. Those with comments are asked to fill out an inquiry complaint form and leave it with the city clerk for distribution to the proper city department. Would anybody like to speak?
Private First Class Mike Wirtz reporting for duty, sir. Okay, in May, this is when we're in times we're putting flags out. On the 25th, we'll be at Rose Hill with the Russell ROTC, and we'll be there at 8:30 in the morning. The 27th, we'll be at the Veterans Cemetery at 10 o'clock. That's when we put flags on. And on Saturday, we'll be at Golden Oaks putting flags on there. We'll have the Boy Scout trip. We got the Boy Scouts out of Huntington, West Virginia coming in. Melanie's been with me probably the 37 years that I've put flags out. She's probably been with me about 25, so.
Mike, what time at Golden Oaks? Sorry.
It'll be at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
What was the date for the Veterans Cemetery?
Okay, it's
27.
going to be at 10 o'clock. Everything at the Veterans Cemetery starts at 10 o'clock. And I'll get about the Memorial Day service out there. I'll let you all know about that when time comes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else like to speak? Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you. My name's David Williams. I just wanted to kind of go back and get an update on where we stand on the Kentucky budget this year. Probably officially today, the legislatures will probably take a majority veto or go a vote to make certain that the budget as it stands, and unfortunately, Ashland School District did not get any funding. We talked great length of that last time. You mentioned that you were going to try to invite me and a few others or whoever would want to come to the budget meeting. I hadn't heard anything, but please keep us in the loop on that.
Well, good news that there's going to be an opportunity to have participation, or at least to witness the budget process coming up, and that will be announced, I think, on Facebook, maybe? Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You know, I mean, without, just kind of stammering and going through what we talked about last time, I mean, I still can't help but say that I'm a champion for our students, and I know you guys are too. But it's just, and I think it's wonderful that we have all these businesses that are starting. That's wonderful. But still, I can't, and I mentioned this when we talked at the last school board meeting. We're still not moving the needle on a lot of our educational to get our male graduates from being 198th out of 227 high schools as far as being readily prepared. I know Commissioner Goot mentioned that he had spoken with the principal and superintendent, and they had several curriculums that they had. But here again, as I said earlier, those are not the well-paying jobs that TENCO is saying that we need in our area. And you know, as we start looking at budgets and outlawing capital initiatives, I know that we're in the process of tearing down the old Ashland headquarters. Personally, I think that's probably may not physically look well right now, but it's a good solid building. I hate to see us tear something down, but that boat's already sailed, and I'm not going to go there. But I will say that I have concerns about the public funding of a parking garage that would go there in its place, and the business and the potential for a what do they call it, convention center. You know, there was an article just recently headlining the Boyd County at convention center out at Camp Landing, and you know they're going to have the market share. They have a lot more parking. They have a lot more square footage. They have the entertainment aspect. And I would just like to know, from the city's perspective, the report, the research that you have done to support this potential type project.
I appreciate the question. So the good news is that a feasibility study is a part of the funding that was received by the governor, and that has not been awarded yet. So once that's completed, we will have a more definitive answer as to what we're going to do specifically on that site. So
What we do know, yeah, what we do know for certain is we miss out on many smaller conferences because we do not have a conference center. And that's documented and that's fact. The market for what's happening in Boyd County and what we're doing are two separate markets.
Yeah.
Totally separate markets, and it's not a competition.
Yeah, and in fact, we've the great thing about this demolition is it removes a building that is not feasible because of the amount of asbestos in it. It's almost impossible to do anything with. Secondly, it's blighted, so it needs to go. Thirdly, to the commissioner's point, you know, the narrative is that the city and the county are not in support of each other, and that's furthest from the truth. The county judge is on the record supporting our project as we are of their project. We think that they're complementary, not competitive. So I'm excited about what we have to offer here in the city, and I know you're excited about what the county has to offer too, and we are as well. But we're just now getting started in the process that honestly was planned for over a decade ago by a mayor and commissioner long before us. We're just trying to finish the work that was started by them. Okay?
I don't want to say that I'm supportive of that project out there. I'm not here campaigning for their efforts by no means. All I'm saying is that I don't want to see the same thing that happened 25 plus years ago where we build the town center mall and the Kiowa mall goes out there and only one survives. That was fine when it was privately funded, but this is going to be public funded, and that's where I think the concern is.
Well, most of your convention centers are publicly funded.
I will also say that building is progressively unsafe. It's a monster in there, and so having it down is a blessing.
I mean, what you mentioned about the asbestos and everything, that's the first thing that they're getting rid of.
Correct.
And now you have a shell, and if you were to just look at the square footage that's there and say, can I build it for whatever it is, it's an asset. I've removed asbestos. I know where we're talking about. We're
Sure.
talking about 9-inch tiles and ductwork and things like that. To say that building is built of asbestos is not true. I mean, there is a concern that there, but here again, you're removing. But I don't want to get off base. I'm just saying that I have concerns about public funding for such a thing. There's probably only a handful of convention centers in the state that are even profitable. And to let alone that there's going to be one 10 miles down the road, just doesn't seem like it's
Apples
practical.
and oranges,
spend.
we're not in competition.
We appreciate your comments today. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you later.
Would anybody else like to come up and speak? Okay, all right. At this point, we will move on to old business.
And item A, a second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting the fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Review, CAPER, and authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the fiscal year 2020 CAPER to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item B, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 917 Burn Street in the amount of $8,800 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I also want to be on the record as an abstention to item A.
Item C, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris, 3220 Hampton Street, in the amount of $5,900 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item D, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor of the city to execute a contract with Womack Excavating LLC for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 1719 Harlan Street in the amount of $3,800 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item E, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor of the city to execute a contract with Womack Excavating LLC for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 2111 Moore Street in the amount of $4,500 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item F, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland accepting the proposal of Convention Sports and Leisure International LLC for professional services in an amount not to exceed $55,587 to conduct a feasibility study and market analysis regarding the potential development of a conference center at 14101 Winchester Avenue for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda?
Consent agenda, a resolution of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting, authorizing, and approving the course of action presented by the city manager on the items appearing on the consent agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of City Commissioners of April 14, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just
All in-
an ask, actually. With all of the, and I know you've given us a list of all the demolition projects and their total cost. Can you get us the remaining budget in the demolition budget and the remaining balances of the bonds? We've got a lot of money going out for those, and I just want to
Good idea.
kind of an update of where we are.
Remaining demolition budget and remaining.
Bond funds for the
Balance
utility
of
bond and
utility
the,
and- okay.
the parks, the
Quality
geo
of
project,
life.
yep. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
New business, item A, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Mighty Con, Inc. for the installation of aerator motor gearbox in the amount of $48,400 for the Department of Utilities Division of Wastewater Treatment Plant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain from that.
Now, item B, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an engagement letter between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Baker Tilly U.S. LLP regarding advisory services on the preparation of a classification and compensation study in the approximate amount of $64,900 for the Department of General Government Division of Human Resources."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item C, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement between the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and the City of Ashland for the Winchester Avenue Streetscape Project from 13th Street to 18th Street in the amount of $400,000 with 80% or $320,000 to be paid with federal SAH funds and a 20% match of approximately $80,000 to be paid by the City of Ashland.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And item D, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Ashland and GRW Engineers, Inc. to provide engineering services for design and agency approvals of the 2022 water and sewer capital improvements projects in an amount not to exceed $341,630 for the Department of Engineering."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, when will they be starting on these? After tomorrow?
This, we'll put these out, yes. Steve? I was reading something else, so I tried to tap dance and it didn't go very well. Mr. Cole?
They'll be able to begin immediately after approval of the contract.
Yeah.
Next week, they will actually.
Great. Good. Thank you.
Sorry, Commissioner.
I want to comment, I was in the capital projects meeting, Steve and Mark especially.
Yeah.
You're doing such a great job, and it's very, you explain things so well about where everything is going and what the dates are and everything, and it keeps everything straight. So I appreciate you guys and your effort.
I'm going to make one more comment and commend the mayor for suggesting the capital projects committee, because I think it helps us, and you guys may not, you all, I'm going to hold this up so you can see. It's just page after page of things that are happening within the city, and the commissioners get a monthly update of where each project stands, and so that way we can convey that to the public. And it's invaluable, I think, for us to be able to participate in that and just,
It's so
Good stuff.
impressive when you see it all in one place, when you sit down and see it, because we get it kind of piecemeal, and we vote on things, but when you see it all together, I mean, it's just amazing, the great things that are going on, so.
Each of us, our phones blow up all the time with, how about this, and how about that, and how about Dixon Street, how about Belmont? And then I'm able to just go to my paper and say, well, here it is, and this is when it's going to be projectedly, completed and so forth.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And item E, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Wolf Creek Contracting for the installation of sidewalks, curb and gutter, and asphalt paving along Dixon Street for the Pollard Mills Infrastructure Project Phase 2 in the amount of $513,450, and authorizing and approving change order number 1, decreasing the contract in the amount of $21,149 for the Department of Engineering."
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item F, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Bobby's Mulch for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 2323 Altura Street in the amount of $5,900 for the Department of Community and Economic Development."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item G, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Bobby's Mulch for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 1613 Hilton Avenue in the amount of $4,900 for the Department of Community and Economic Development."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item H, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Bobby's Mulch for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 3309 Newman Street in the amount of $2,850 for the Department of Community and Economic Development."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item I, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky repealing Ordinance Number 8, Series of 2022, which authorized a contract between the City of Ashland and Bobby's Mulch for the demolition of property located at 457 30th Street for the Department of Community and Economic Development."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in
I'm th-
favor?
I'm thankful for Bobby's Mulch.
I know.
We had a mulch sale at the high school. I think I had part of 2916 Moore Street in my mulch.
Any other comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Item J, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 1053 29th Street in the amount of $5,400 for the Department of Community and Economic Development."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item K, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky repealing an ordinance number 13, series of 2022, which authorized a contract between the City of Ashland and Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the demolition of property located at 1632 Hilton Avenue for the Department of Community and Economic Development."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a comment on these, the repealing parts, just for the sake of the public. Some of these are properties that will not be demolished, but will be brought back into
They're-
the fold.
Right, there were
essentially.
injunctions on the demolitions, and the intent is to bring them back to full. Mr. Pullum, anything else to add on that?
I just want to make sure the public was aware of that.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Item L, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing the operation of golf carts on designated city streets under the authority of KRS 189-286.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to understand this a little bit. Authorizing it. So we have an ordinance that came about in 2020, was it?
I think so.
So
2020,
if you don't care, just give a
2019.
little summary
Yeah.
of how that started.
Well, basically, state law has been for a long time, as interpreted by the courts, that golf carts are not legal for the operation on city streets. We did an ordinance in 2020, which essentially just confirmed what was already the state law that prohibited operation of golf carts on city streets. KRS 189-286 allows cities, or gives cities the option to allow operation of golf carts that have certain safety features on streets, city streets, to be designated by the city. So this ordinance was requested by Commissioner Spriggs. It goes under the authorization of 189-286. It requires the golf carts to be inspected by the Sheriff's Department to see that they comply with the state law in terms of things like lights, brakes, and so on. Then it requires a permit from the City of Ashland. That permit would require the city to determine that the golf cart was owned by and would be operated by a licensed driver, and that it has liability insurance, and that it has a slow-moving vehicle sticker, and that it has a permit sticker from the City of Ashland. Then those golf carts, and only those golf carts, would be allowed to operate on the streets that are designated by the ordinance, which is streets with a speed limit of 25 miles or less, except, and there is a large number of streets that are accepted, and that's based on the recommendation of Chief Kelly and his command staff, that these were streets that were totally inappropriate to have golf carts operated on them. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Now, this came about because some constituents in the our more mature
Elderly community.
Yeah, elderly community have really nice golf carts that are street legal, and they would use them to go around in their neighborhood to visit neighbors or do whatever in their neighborhood. And then all at once, they couldn't do that, so they're sitting in the garage. When I stopped by one of them's house the other day, he'd just had a hip replacement. She was getting ready to have 2 knees replaced. And it just makes sense. We're doing a lot of things for our younger people in the community. We need not to forget, we have another community with our elderly, and we need to do things for them as well.
Agree, and just a comment, I love that taking something from the citizens and bringing it here. I mean, I like, this is what we're here to do, so I appreciate that. For me, I've reached out to Chief Kelly, and I just kind of wanted to get the summary so everybody understood it. And for me, I have to understand fully, see what's going on there, and understand that. I understand that the other side of the coin is we have some citizens who don't have those needs, who have abused this in the past. And that was the reasoning, I think, behind the initial action that was taken in 2020. And actually, I just saw, literally, it was within the last 2 days, I saw something from Huntington Police Department where they had it was some type of, I don't know if you call it a golf cart or four-wheeler or whatever, it was some kind of hybrid-looking thing going down their street that they had a problem with. So where my mind is, I've just tried to weigh, and you can kind of see in the agenda the different things listed for our police department and what this means for them. And so it's good to hear the citizens, because I was interested in that and what their side of it was. I have been also hearing from citizens about, this is kind of separate but kind of related, on speeding issues in different parts of the neighborhood. So those are problems as well. We've also had incidents downtown that require the resources of our police department. So for me, it's not a question of, necessarily golf cart operation as it is the resources of our police department. And that we have to take a long, hard look. So just to be honest, I've had a tough one, because Chief Kelly gave me, a very in-depth rundown of everything. So I'm just trying to communicate where I've tried to stand on this, because I'm never one to, my history here has never been one to vote in favor for much restrictions of anything, honestly. So but I feel like it's my duty to listen to the staff. They're the experts, not me. So
It's worth to note, though, that there is also a fine attached to this ordinance for offenders of that, and also to note that we now have scooters downtown.
yeah.
So this makes more sense that, there's probably going to be somebody that will abuse this, because they'll abuse anything. I don't care what it is. But there's also some teeth put in a fine there.
And those same people are driving golf carts in neighborhoods right now while it's prohibited.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so two things there, though. So the scooters, agreed, but also the scooters are dictated by state law. We found that out.
Well, so's this.
Well,
No,
right.
this is not dictated. This is discretionary. We have no option about the scooters. That's a state law that we could not opt out of that if we wanted to. The state law is that golf carts are prohibited unless a city decides to take affirmative action, which is what you're considering now. Chief Kelly's on vacation, couldn't be here, but I had several conversations with him, and I know he wanted to point out that there will be a substantial enforcement issue with respect to this, because the only way you can determine if a golf cart is being operated legally under this, if you see them out, is to stop them and see if they have proof of insurance. For instance, when you register a car, if your insurance is canceled, the authorities are notified of that. We won't be notified of this. You can come down and bring a proof of insurance, get your permit, be canceled the next day. They won't know. The only way they'll know is if they see a golf cart being operated, they stop it, and they say, where's your proof of insurance? You either have it or you don't. There will be a bureaucracy that will be required to set up to issue the permits. We'll have to design the permits. There'll be a cost involved in that. And I think Major Conley had a number of costs that will be associated with this for the department to implicate this. And then the final point that Chief Kelly wanted to make, and I think I can speak for him on this, he is a certified accident reconstructionist. And as such, he wanted to point out that these vehicles, no matter how many lights and brakes they have, are not crash-worthy. And the first time you have a collision between a motor vehicle and a golf cart, I think his words were, it's not going to fare well for the occupants of the golf cart. So that was his concerns.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Would there be anybody else wanting to discuss this matter? All right, without any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Item M, excuse me. An ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending ordinance number 121, series of 2020, prohibiting the operation of golf carts, utility vehicles, and all-terrain vehicles violating KRS 189-286. And let me explain what this is so you'll know. This was sort of contingent on what you did on the previous item. And this is the ordinance we had that prohibits golf carts. And now it would say golf carts are prohibited except in those operating in compliance with the ordinance under the authority of 189-286. So in other words, golf carts that don't meet those criteria are still prohibited, but the others are
I get it.
approved.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, so moved.
Second.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item M, excuse me,
Hold on,
frog.
Hold on. We did have a vote.
Oh, okay.
And-
Let's do that.
And any opposed? Aye. Okay, thank you. All right.
All right, we ready now?
Now we're ready, sir. Thank you.
Item M, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky. Well, that's the one we just read. Item N, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Brentag Mid-South, Inc. for the purchase of liquid caustic soda at a price of $1.50 per gallon, liquid sodium permanganate at a price of $12.885 per gallon, powdered activated carbon at a price of $1.36 per pound, liquid chlorine at a price of $1,449 per ton, potassium permanganate at a price of $2.23 per pound, and sodium hypochlorite at a price of $1.699 per gallon for the Department of Utilities Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item O, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Sitco Water for the purchase of sulfur dioxide at a price of $1,135 per ton and sand at a price of 18 cents per pound for the Department of Utilities Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item P, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Polydine, Inc. for the purchase of liquid polymer for the water treatment plant and for the wastewater treatment plant at a price of $13.33 per gallon, and polymer cationic at a price of $2.33 per pound for the Department of Utilities Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item Q, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Univar Solutions for the purchase of hydrofluorosilicic acid at a price of $2.90 per gallon for the Department of Utilities Division of Wastewater Treatment and Water Production.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item R, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Ualsco LLC for the purchase of aluminum sulfate at a price of $1.38.2 per gallon for the Department of Utilities Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item S, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and approving change order number 2 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Triple B Construction regarding the contract in the amount of $15,200 for a contract regarding the removal and installation of lamella modules at the water treatment plant for the Department of Utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item T, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Triple B Construction for the Floyd Street Pump Station HVAC and exterior renovation project in the amount of $26,500 for the Department of Utilities Division of Water Distribution.
So moved.
Second.
Just want to make note, I appreciate staff following through and getting this project completed. This, we try to make sure that all of our city properties are kept up, and This is one of those buildings that needed to be addressed, so I appreciate city leadership getting that done. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item U, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Rumpke of Kentucky, Inc. for the removal and disposition of sludge from the City of Ashland wastewater treatment plant and water treatment plant for a period of 1 year in the amount of $294,959.42 for the Department of Utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Looks like we do have an increase of almost $30,000. Is that right, City Manager?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item V, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Bluegrass Recreational Sales and Installation, LLC, to furnish all labor, materials, supervision, and safety for the installation of playground equipment at Dawson Pool and Park in the amount of $94,998.95 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Marty?
Money well spent.
All right.
You're still going off the slide, right?
I'm still going off the slide.
Any
Okay.
other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item W, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Bluegrass Recreational Sales and Installation, LLC, to furnish all labor, materials, supervision, and safety for the installation of playground equipment at Wendell Park, Southside Park, in the amount of $209,168.81 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item X, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Hatfield Contracting Services to furnish all labor, materials, supervision, and safety for the removal and replacement of existing fence at the Oliverio Park ball fields in the amount of $105,000 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Just echoing Commissioner Good's comments, you know, he and I were able to meet with the leadership of the Little League. That was important to us. You know, all these projects that end up on the agenda are a direct result of our commission meeting with citizens, hearing their concerns, and bringing it back to be addressed if we can do so feasibly. And I think this is a great tribute to our former commissioner. Penny is a good friend of mine, his daughter, and she was thrilled to see the work that's being done on the park.
And I want to echo that. We met months ago down there at Oliverio Park, and we're finishing up this, voting on this tomorrow morning. But, I mean, we got the best fence we could possibly get and got a good deal on it at the vinyl-coated black fence.
Oh, good.
That'll be good for years to come.
Good.
And all these votes that we're making, Oliverio, Dawson, Southside, and Central, they're all new playground facilities on all our parks. And so I'm glad we'll be able to do this.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item Y, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky closing the alley running parallel to Winchester Avenue and Carter Avenue from the 11th Street to 12th Street in the City of Ashland, Kentucky.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
We're closing this because of construction there?
Yeah, is Mr. Lucas here? Come before us, sir. Could you please just address us with your name and who you're with, and,
Yes,
maybe give us a little bit of background?
Sure. I'm Larry Lucas with Ashland Credit Union. I'm the president there. We have basically outgrown our current location. We've got employees over at the Sky Tower currently. We're leasing about a floor there. And good news is we need to build bigger. And so we purchased the bowling alley. So this is the bowling alley block. And we basically own all of it except for the church. And we're going to be good neighbors of the church. And so we basically, for the flow of the parking lot, we need to be able to move the alley over to be able to maximize the parking and the flow for the drive-throughs. And so we went to the City Planning Commission earlier in the month and showed them the detailed plans, and and went through them to get their approval. So we're building about a 37,000 square foot building there, about double the size we are now.
So we're not closing the alley, we're moving it?
I think officially it's called closing, but it's still going to be there. It's just going to be pulling.
Okay,
It's
because
just
I'm
going
not
to be.
for shutting down alleys.
It's just going to be all us, so basically, when you pull into that alley, it's going to be two-way instead of one-way, because we need to broaden it for traffic flow. So it's still
So it
going to
becomes part
exist.
of- Basically becomes part of your parking lot.
It's just part, yeah, you're going to be
Okay.
pulling in Ashland.
I mean,
So
the
we could
alley gonna be
still- We
closed.
could still drive through there.
Yeah, somebody could,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
yeah.
You're crossing private property when you do so.
Yeah, it's private property.
You'll come out of the bank parking, you'll basically use the space to come out of the bank parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, and the, Mr. Pullman, would you like to elaborate?
Go ahead.
Well, I was actually gonna ask Catherine too, but basically, we'll maintain the utility easement through that alleyway. They will not construct over top of it, so we need to get to utilities or like the power needs to get there.
Okay.
And so there will not be construction, vertical construction on top of it, technically, which is where the alley is.
Okay.
Mr. Lucas, would it be too forward of me to ask what you're thinking this investment would be?
Oh, it's still in development, but we're
A significant
probably.
investment,
Yeah,
though.
$15 million.
Plus, yeah. Well, I,
Well,
I for one, and I know our commission is eternally grateful for your expansion and wanting to continue to be in our city and show, we are hopefully going to show support here with passing this for you today.
Are you even keeping one lane open? of
It's
the
going to be
bowling
two
alley?
lane, basically.
No,
No,
bowling
the bowling-
alley.
One lane of the bowling alley.
Bowling
It's
on
gone,
the
it's
side.
gone. The bowling
Bowling
alley's
for
gone.
dollars.
Yeah, I wish we could figure out a way of
I
done
know,
that, but
right?
it was in pretty bad shape when we got it, so.
Commissioner, in our comments back to Mr. Lucas, we requested they consider keeping one lane open and you could bowl for your interest rate on it.
Excellent. Larry, I thank you for your investment. It kind of broke my heart when I saw the bowling alley demolished there and everything like, and we're getting a lot of abuse on Facebook. They want a Malibu Jacks 2 down here or something,
Yeah.
And so, but I'm thankful for that great investment you're making on that corner.
Yeah, well, we're going to honor the city. The building we have planned, when you come across the bridge to see, it's going to be a great welcoming facility for people coming into the Ashland area.
Well, it's, those two blocks as you come off the bridge, I think have all been completely redeveloped or will be completely redeveloped. And to your point, I think it will show those considering investment in our city that it's the right place to be, because we have folks right there at our doorstep that have done that. And you all are great community partners, and we appreciate all you do. Thank you so much.
And we appreciate the city. They've been great to work with through our process.
Good to hear.
Good.
Good to
Okay,
hear.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Item Z, reading and adoption of a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order of the City of Ashland Accepting the Cleaner Water Program Grant in the Amount of $540,000, Approving the Grant Assistance Agreement and Authorizing the Amendment of the City of Ashland's Annual Budget and Authorizing the City Manager to sign all related documents."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
This is the first time I've ever had a Z on an agenda.
I know, right? It's
From A to Z.
Susan says she's gone to double letters before.
We've had double letters before.
Really?
Yeah, not very often, but a time or two.
At this point, we'll need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Yeah, motion for executive session to review and discuss records exempt from disclosure under the Homeland Security exemption, KRS 61878, subsection 1M. Also to discuss both potential litigation and a pending litigation matter. And finally, also to discuss an individual personnel matter.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to go into executive session. Only the items mentioned will be discussed. No action will be taken.